Hare Krishna. So, welcome all of you for our regular Friday Bhagavad Gita study circle. Today we are discussing a very important subject which will be continuing from our last session, the science of soul. Okay. So in Bhagavad Gita, especially the second chapter, the Sankhya Yoga, which gives an elaborate description of the body, mind and soul. The physical, the subtle and the spiritual bodies. It gives a very elaborate understanding of it by doing analytical study. And therefore, this is called as Sankhya. And it is called yoga because this understanding is actually gradually connecting you to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. See, the Jiva's natural identity is being servant of Krishna. But to bring to this understanding, we should have a proper analytical observation of the body, both gross and subtle bodies. Once you understand how this gross body and subtle body properly, then you understand that you are not this gross or you are not this subtle body. You are different from these two. Most of the times we think we are our mind. Not most of the time we think we are his body. That's how we go ahead. And sometimes that the body is not cooperating. That time we start identifying with our subtle body, especially with the mind. And when the mind is not cooperating, then you become hopeless. People can't identify what to identify with. Body is not supporting. Gross body is not supporting. And then they see the subtle body is not supporting. If both gross body and subtle body are not supporting, where they want to identify with. That's how they get into a very hopeless situation in life. See, everyone is looking for shelter. As a soul's eternal shelter, which the soul experiences at the lotus feet of Krishna. Jivere Swarupavaya, Krishnera Nityadasa. But when it comes to material world, it is given a shield in terms of enjoying the material world or experience the material world's reality. The reality of this material world is duality. There is always some pain and there is some pleasure. There is some suffering and there is some happiness. Happiness, distress. There is sometimes cold, sometimes hot. So, experiencing this duality through the means of gross and subtle body, the soul will gradually come to the understanding that he is not of this world. And that is the time where he gets the inspiration to connect to something which is eternal, which is unchanging. So that is very crucial, therefore, to understand the difference between the gross, subtle, and the spiritual bodies. So Bhagavad Gita, Krishna spoke this particular subject matter in the beginning while educating Arjuna in terms of what he has to do on the war field. Is a very crucial subject. This subject is giving an analytical study of the gross body and subtle body and its complete differentiation from the soul, the spiritual body. This is going to enlighten Arjuna in terms of what actually is supposed to do. So therefore, we will see in this connection a very detailed understanding of the soul. So last time we discussed it till 20th verse, okay, from 11 to 20, around these 10 verses, they speak on the science of soul, part 1. So today we'll be continuing that from 21 to 30. So I will open the verses and if it is possible, somebody else can share the screen. Then as I say, then they can go to the other program. Is it possible? Hare Krishna? Who would like to do that? Then highlight. Arrival. Someone who can in their particular mobile or laptop, if they can do sharing of the shloka, that will be nice. Akash, or which is Arnav Prabhu, will you do?
No, it says that only the host can share in this.
Krishna, Arnav? Akash?
Krishna? Prabhuji, it says that only host can share the content.
Okay, okay, I'll just make it. And now you see.
Okay, 1 second. Yeah, we can share. The screen is there.
You may share the screen, verse number 21. Then at particular time, I'll tell you to stop it, then I will share certain thing. Like that, you will do it, okay?
Okay, please. 1 second, I'm doing it from my phone. Hello. So if my screen is visible, then let me know.
Contents of Gita summarized. Yeah. This section. Verse number 21.
Okay.
It will open.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, on 18.
There is Veda base. Veda base is simple, Prabhu. This is very complicated. You open vedabase.com.
Database actually hangs in my system for some reason. I don't know why.
I mean, in the internet also it shows Veda.
So over here on 21.
Yeah.
Chapter 21.
They're saying more advertisement there. Take it, fine. Yeah. So what we can do, one devotee can take that part in reciting the. You may keep in the landscape, Prabhu. You can keep in the portrait. You change that.
Okay.
Now you can make it big also. So now what can be done? Devotees can share, recite after me. One can opt it and then do it. Okay.
Okay.
Veda vinashinim nityam.
Will someone repeat or should I go ahead?
You go ahead and let then I will then I only have to tell. I think nobody's speaking anything. Are they busy with something? I don't know. Veda vinashinam
Veda vinasinam nityam.
yayenam majam avyayam
Yayenam ajam avyam.
katham sapurusha partha
Katham sapurusha partha.
angatyatti hantikam.
Tam gatayati hantikam.
Read the translation.
O Partha, how can a person who knows that the soul is indestructible, unborn, eternal, and immutable kill anyone or cause anyone to kill?
Yeah. So basically, Arjuna is being questioned by Krishna. So Arjuna says, I cannot kill. So he says, what you are killing? Whom you are going to kill? It is a very simple thing. He says that the soul is different from the gross body and subtle body. And this soul, which is indestructible, and it cannot be destroyed by anything else. Any means cannot destroy it. Any sort of influence of material energy in terms of time, in terms of other energies, cannot destroy the soul. Soul remains eternal. It is unborn. Eternal means what? It doesn't have any particular birth date. So if there is no birth date, there is no death date also. Very simple term. If you don't have a birth date, not that you forgot your birthday, then there is no death. If you don't have birth date, then there is no death date also. There is no death. In that way, the soul is eternal. If something is eternal, how can it kill someone? Because someone means the soul. It cannot kill anyone. Neither it can be killed. So this is very important to understand the principle of soul's eternality. See, body is not eternal. It doesn't give a justification that you can kill the body. Here, Krishna is not instructing Arjuna and justifying with Arjuna that you can kill, no problem, because only body is being killed. Body is going to get destroyed. That's all. The soul remains eternal. So he's not giving a sanction like that, because the purpose for which they assembled in the Kurukshetra war was to fight against the Adharma. And during that time, the Arjuna was confused about the protection of the body, which is not eternal. How can you protect something which is not eternal? And how can you kill something which is eternal? Getting? So he was differentiating this, and to differentiating is giving this knowledge. So you cannot take this as a means or a justification for doing your criminal activities. So the basic ground on which they assembled there in the Kurukshetra was on dharma. For the sake of dharma, one has to kill the Akatayis who assembled there. And more importantly, after a series of discussions and coming to a trying to come to a peace, and nothing happened, they ultimately came on the war field. And there, instead of fighting as per the duty of the dharma principle, here Arjuna is confused about the protecting of the body. So Krishna is trying to emphasize on a very important principle, which sometimes people go with it, or go away with it. They don't understand that the protection of body is not possible. No matter how much you try to protect this body with all means of medical equipments, medical knowledge and science, and with all your money, there is going to be an end to this body. This body is, you cannot protect something which is not eternal. Time is inevitable. It cannot wait for anything. And in the form of Krishna in the form of the time is playing a very powerful role in everyone's life. Any body which takes birth, it will have a death date. It is sure to happen. In our case, it may not be like what Krishna is instructing Arjuna to kill. It may be that Krishna in the form of time is actually killing us, killing our bodies. As we grow old, that's what we see. The body which can never be protected, which is not eternal, can never be protected. You can only maintain the body. You understand? You only maintain the body for a particular time period. So here they approached on the ground of dharma. Therefore, Krishna is instructing him, understand, you cannot protect something which is not eternal, and you cannot kill someone who is eternal. The body is something, but the person, the soul is someone. That soul, someone whom you are intended to relate with, whether it Bhishma or Drona, is the soul with whom you are relating with. Today morning, we had a very nice Prabhupada lecture. In that, the discussion came about Prabhupada says, people are asking, can you show me God? Can you show me God? And the power to see is given by God himself. And with your limited power to see, you are questioning the existence of the person who has given you the power to see. It is very important to understand the principle that the soul's connection with Krishna is eternal. It always remains. And when a person dies, we cry, he has left away. But where he left away? He's there. But what has gone? Till now you're dealing with his body only all these years. How is that you are now feeling that the person is not there? What has gone? Who has gone? Have you seen him going? So this question is very important to understand, or you question yourself. Are you seeing who is the person gone? So you are not able to see the person. How can you ask to someone to show me the God? You are not able to see yourself only. You only see this body every time. Or sometimes you think of your own mind only. Hardly you think you are a soul. And now you are questioning about the existence of God. So Prabhupada was telling, till now, all the people, whether Arjuna or anyone, I only dealt with the body and the mind. So this first time Krishna is telling, Arey, come on. The person whom you intended to deal with, intended to love and care, is the soul. That soul will never die. But in the terms of dharma, you cannot compromise killing those who are on the adharma side on the basis of just an a attachment to this particular body, which is anyway going to be destroyed. Because if you don't kill, but time will kill it. But by not killing, you are actually promoting adharma. Okay? So we have to understand this verse is not justifying people who are doing criminal activities. Okay? Go to the next verse. If anyone has any question, they can keep it with them. Rekha Rani Mati also joined, I suppose. She's mentioning. Okay, anyway, I kept it for you to discuss in the next week. Okay? Hare Krishna. So, anyone else can recite Haribol? I think Aruna proved that. Then
Hare Krishna.
Shankat Mochan. Vasamsi jirnani yada vihaya.
Vasamsi jirnani yata vihaya.
Navani grinati naro parani.
Navani grihnati naro parani.
Tada sharirani vihaya jirnani.
तथा शरीराणि विहाय जीर्णानि
अन्यानि संयाति नवानि देहि.
अन्यानि संयाति नवानि देहि.
Please read the translation.
As a person puts on a new garment, giving up old ones, similarly the soul accepts new material bodies, giving up the old and useless ones.
Yeah. So Krishna gives a very amazing example for Arjuna, which we can also understand. As a person put on new garment, giving up the old one, similarly the soul accepts the new material body, giving up the old and useless one. And what is the principle on which it happens? Like if you want to accept a new garment, you need a money. You need proper money, you need a proper shop where you can purchase that. So how the soul accepts a new body? Based on what? Karma. Based on the principle of karma. So karma comes as a very prominent role here. So if you see, Bhishma and Drona are actually losing in terms of karma principle very much. Just by sliding on Duryodhana, they lose a lot. Please mute your mics because I'm hearing some voices. Hare Krishna. Yeah. So Duryodhana, Drona and Bhishma are actually losing. Actually, main important discussion is for Drona and Bhishma only. Arjuna is more disturbed with them only, with their presence on opposite side. So therefore, Krishna had to speak all these things. So spiritual knowledge will be very effective when you have a devotional sentiments in life. You understand? So if you have devotional sentiments, if somebody is very selfish, who is insensitive with others, who is harsh, who doesn't care, he can never become a good devotee. Who can become a good devotees are those who are actually were sensitive, who have developed quality of goodness in their life. So Arjuna became qualified. From earlier discussions we discussed, Arjuna became qualified to hear Bhagavad Gita because of his devotional qualities. And apart from devotional qualities, he is submissive to take the knowledge from Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that's why he's able to take this knowledge. Otherwise, the people can't understand these principles if they are not godly in their life. People are not godly, they can never approach the God. First, one has to receive a qualification. The qualification is at least to be godly. And be godly means developing good qualities of compassion, cleanliness, regulation, concern for others, doing something for others, service, selfless service. These all are very crucial. Patience, empathetic hearing from others. These are very important qualities. So here, Krishna gives a very beautiful analogy of change. The karma principle is spoken through changing of dress. You take a new dress based on the money what you have, and you give up your old dress. You see, every day also you change your dress, especially in summer, and your dress becomes very much contaminated with the sweat and the toil which happens in your hard work. What you do, naturally give it up, and then you take up a new thing. So people's body becomes contaminated by bad karma. When they do any bad activities, sinful activities, their body becomes contaminated. And that body is not worthy of keeping, even though they are healthy. Even though they're young, or things, that body is not worthy to be kept. So what Krishna is instructing, is Bhishma and Drona already old. For sake you take that they're young. Still they're on adharma side. On adharma, they're actually contaminated. They made their body contaminated. They made their body contaminated by siding on the dharma. So you need to clean that. You give them a new dress, offer them a new dress. This is the way it is. Go to the next local. Actually, very interesting. We are trying to see what Krishna is intended to speak from this particular analysis of body and soul to Arjuna. Therefore, we are trying to do. Yeah. This 23 is next verse 23. Yeah. He's speaking about the eternity of the soul. Who else after Shankat Merchant? Who else would like to do?
Hare Krishna, bro. I'm done.
You're done, huh? You are recited?
Yes.
Yeah. Let give option to someone else. Akash Prabhu. Okay, Amit Dudey Prabhu. Fine. Nainam Chindanti Shastrani.
नैनं छिद्यन्ति शस्त्राणि
Nainam Dadadi Pavaka.
नैनं दहति पावका
Chainam Kledyayantyako.
न चैनं क्लेदयन्ति अपो
Nashosyati Marutaha.
न शोष्यति मारुतः.
This is the translation.
The soul can never be cut to pieces by any weapon, nor burned by fire, nor moistened by water, nor withered by the wind.
Yeah, basically, in the purpose also mentions that Arjuna don't feel Krishna is saying to Arjuna that don't be bothered because the attack which you are doing through weapons, sometimes you'll use the weapon of fire, Agni Astra, sometimes you'll use the Varuna Astra, sometimes you'll use the Vayu Astra, and sometimes you may just use the normal arrow to pierce the heart of your family members, especially Drona and Bhishma. But don't feel that they are getting affected because the soul is not cut to pieces. The soul is never cut into pieces or never get destroyed by these weapons. All these types of different weapons which are used, they all meant to destroy only that body which was contaminated by bad karma. And the pain which the person goes through that purifies their subtle body also. And especially these things are happening in front of Krishna's presence. The Supreme Person, under the instruction of Krishna, it is happening. Therefore, even the subtle body gets purified. The gross body gets washed off, and the subtle body gets purified. And in this way, the soul is unarmed. The soul never gets harmed in the entire this process. Because soul, being an eternal entity with its connection with the Krishna, it has its own nature and features like Krishna. Therefore, this is what it is. It is never cut by any weapon, nor cut by fire, things like that. And that's what we can see in the entire episode of Mahabharata, what happened. So it was Krishna who is actually taking all the weapons on him and trying to protect the Radha and everything. And after the Kurukshetra war completed, when Arjuna asked Krishna, you get down from the chariot as a charioteer. Krishna said, first you get down. Then he gets down, and then after Krishna gets down, the whole chariot gets tumbled to powder. Because so many weapons attack came, which Krishna took it. And Krishna's body is non-different from a soul. Krishna's body and Krishna's soul are non-different. Like Arjuna's body and Arjuna's soul are different. Okay. Arjuna's soul is within the body of Arjuna. Arjuna's body, okay, within the Arjuna's body. But in Krishna's case, it's not like that. Krishna's nature is like what we are discussing here. It's never cut to any piece of weapon, not burned by fire, nor moistened by water, nor withered by the wind. Not possible. But sometimes, in order to facilitate the understanding of people who are durbuddhi, or you can say, who are low-minded, Krishna may use the means of an arrow to leave this world. Huh? People say that he was attacked on his toe by an arrow, and that pierced the toe, and then he started bleeding, and that's how Krishna died. Krishna did not die. Krishna just left. Krishna just disappeared. Just like sun doesn't take birth and die every day. It appears and disappears. Either Krishna appears and disappears. Soul also appears and disappears. From one body, it appears in a particular body and then it disappears from that body at the time of death. And it reappears in another body. But the Krishna's appearing and disappearing is a Leela. But on the case of Jiva, living entity, it is not a Leela. It is more a karma principle. It is forced to accept a particular body based on the karma which it did. Just by killing Arjuna, the body of the opponents, is purifying their karma, by which actually they'll get a very nice body in the future. So this is a very important principle. Okay. Go to the next verse. 24. Achedyoyam adhoyam.
अच्छेद्योयम् अधोयोयम्
Akledyo ashoshayeva cha.
अक्लेद्योऽशोष्य एव च
Nitya sarvagata stanur.
नित्यसर्वतस्थाणुर्
Achalo ayam sanatana.
चलो अयं सनातनः.
See, whenever there is a line here like this, go above. Go to the verse. Yeah. Whenever any line, like you see here, one particular dent is there. In front of Y, there is one. Okay. That means there is a silent A in front. There is a silent A. Achyadyoyam adayoyam. So A is there, silent. Akledyoshosyayevacha nitya sarvagata stanur. Achaloyam sanatana. Like that it goes. Okay. It's not achaloyam. Achaloyam sanatana. Go down. Read the translation. Akash, please read the translation.
Yes, Babaji. This individual soul is unbreakable and insoluble and can be neither burnt nor dried. He is everlasting, all pervading, unchangeable, immovable, and eternally the same.
So further characteristics of the soul are explained here. Okay, it's unbreakable. It cannot be broken. So sometimes people say that their hearts are broken. So heart is broken because the heart's connection with this material attachments is broken. You see, basically the heart is the place where the soul resides. The soul is not breakable. If somebody has some love break, there's some break in their love, or may not be love with a new girl or something, new boy or something. Sometimes in family only. Sometimes the heartbreaks happens. Some heartbreaks happens is a good opportunity to understand that you are not this subtle body. You are not this body with which you are attached to. You are not this. You are not of this particular family. So that understanding can be rejuvenated. You are a soul. You are unbreakable. You can never be broken. But you see, Arjuna is broken because of emotions and insoluble. Sometimes people get overwhelmed. You understand? Overwhelmed. Bhavuk ho jata hai. Why? Because so many emotions come out, they become melted in it. But said that soul never gets melted. It is unsoluble. in midst of an. But you see, here Arjuna becomes melted in the emotional attachments. In the emotional attachments with the his people. So both these are important. Okay. In attachments, you become sometimes very melted and sometimes you are broken. So, but the soul is unbreakable and insoluble. Text number 25. Yeah. Aribor, why you are going fast? You go to the last verse. You have not discussed that two points already. Go to the translation. The soul is unbreakable and insoluble and can neither be burnt nor dried. So by tapasya, one makes their subtle body dried by a lot of austerities, tapasyas. People try to become dry, but the soul can never be dried like this. And by certain austerities, by doing some what do you call it? Tapasyas or sacrifices, they actually burn their body. Sacrifices. You burn your fat. You burn your calories by doing some sacrifices in my process. But the soul doesn't get burned like that. So by performing any types of sacrifices or austerities, both, okay? Sacrifices or austerities, you can never burn nor dry the soul. Soul is rich. Soul is fresh in its connection with Krishna. It always remains fresh. Nava Yavanam. Krishna is Nava Yavanam. The soul is also Nava Yavanam, always fresh. It doesn't become dried. It doesn't feel bored. The soul never becomes bored. Or not is burned by any types of anardhas. Lust, anger, pride, greed, envy. They only burn your heart. But they don't burn the soul. Soul is very much nurtured with the love of Krishna. So, because Krishna is eternal, his love is eternal, so there's no point of the soul getting burnt. Sometimes we are burnt, dried up. We say, a devotee dried up in Krishna consciousness. Or devotee is burnt. A person becomes burnt when he does a lot of sacrifices. He sacrifices his health, he sacrifices his time, energy, and everything, and does so much services. Sacrificing his sadhana, sacrificing his chanting, then he becomes burnt away. Burnt to jal jata hai. And sometimes the devotee becomes dried up. Why dried up? He becomes so much dried because of performing austerities for one's gratification, one's own selfishness. He doesn't do sacrifices for others. He thinks about himself. He becomes really dried. He cannot replace Krishna consciousness. So he said that it's not the soul is going through it. It's only our attachment to this bodily, both gross and subtle, that is making us burnt and dried. So Arjuna's, all these types of changes in emotional, psychological changes which is going through, that are not the part of the soul. It's a part of subtle and gross body. Therefore, Krishna is giving specifically these characteristics. Unbreakable, insoluble, not burnt, not dried. And he says is everlasting, all-pervading, unchangeable, and immovable. Everlasting. He always remains everlasting. All-pervading. How it is all-pervading? The soul is all-pervading, not like God. Krishna is all-pervading. He is in front of you in the altar, in your room or in your house. Is sitting and observing all your activities, and is also at the same time performing many intimate pastimes with his devotees in different planets of the spiritual world. And is also in the altar of other devotees' houses and observing their activities and their devotional sentiments. all pervading like that. But how the soul is all pervading? Soul is all pervading in its consciousness of presence of Krishna. You understand? The soul is conscious of the presence of Krishna everywhere. In every act of his life, he's seeing Krishna's presence, the pure soul. He's able to see Krishna's hand in every aspect. That soul is very pervading, all pervading this consciousness of Krishna's presence everywhere, not his presence. Because of Krishna's presence everywhere, that soul is able to get an entire all pervading. Unchangeable. The soul is unchangeable. It cannot be changed. That means what? Your intrinsic, specific spiritual nature which you have, your connection, that can never be changed. Sometimes we may endeavor to change our psychophysical natures. Sometimes we find difficult to understand our own nature, psychophysical nature. Maybe it takes some years of a lot of burning, a lot of drying up, a lot of breakings, to understand what your psychophysical nature is, which is related to your gross and subtle body. Once you understand those things, then you try to figure out what is my psychophysical nature and how to accordingly go ahead. Right? But here is that the soul is unchangeable. He has a specific nature which always remains as true identity. It's true connection with Krishna. And that is revealed over a period of time. So you may adjust your psychophysical nature to render service to Krishna. Not that you have to do full analysis of your nature. Sometimes devotees get into this aspect. I hope you will be able to better appreciate it. Sometimes people too much think. What I am supposed to do, what I am thinking, that should be in relation to better service. Not coming to a conclusion, I am this only, I will do this only. ऐसा कभी नहीं हो सकता है. प्रभु मैं समझ गया कि मैं ऐसा हूं, मैं वही करूंगा. ऐसा कभी नहीं होता क्योंकि आपकी जो साइकोफिजिकल नेचर है वो बदलते रहते हैं कंडीशन एक्सपीरियंस करके. As a soul, you are not changeable. Your service to Krishna is not changeable. So always connect it to service to Krishna. Whatever psychophysical nature you want to adopt it to, take it. But it should be in relation with service to Krishna. That's how the soul is unchangeable. Immovable. Immovable matlab it's not that one place se dusre jagah movable nahi hota hai. Soul is movable, but it is not moved by the movements of life. A lot of movements in life. Sometimes there are pleasure moments, there are suffering moments, there are exciting moments, there is sometimes dangerous moments, confusing moments. Such moments doesn't move the soul. He remains equipoised in all these experiences. It is the soul's, or you can say our attachment to this body or to the situations around which are moving always, That's what we start moved by it. And sometimes devotees become moody. When they're in contact with devotees, intense spiritual association, they're very nice devotees. But they start moving. When they go to different situation, different atmosphere, they start moving to other type of natures. So that is because of their identification with the gross and subtle body. But the soul is not moved. Arjuna, before going to the Kurukshetra wall, while discussing with Krishna, he was ready. But as soon as he came to the war field in front of, he was moved. He was moved. Okay. So this type of things, these are qualifications of soul. See, we are basically trying to relate the soul's characteristics with our experiences which we are having this better. This way we are trying to do. We'll take one more last verse and then we'll conclude it. Okay. Go to the next verse. Maybe Amritendu Prabhu can. There, Amritendu? Hare Krishna. Is not responding. After Amritendra, who is there? Chetan Prabhu, no?
Yes,
Maybe
Hare Krishna,
we'll
Prabhu.
ask. Huh?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Amritendra Prabhu has come. Avyaktoyam achintyoyam.
Abhaktayam achinteyam.
Yam nahi, ayam. A is silent there. Avyaktoyam achintyoyam.
Abhaktayam achintayam.
Avikaryoyam uchyate.
Avikayam uchyate.
Tasmat evam viditvainam.
Tasmadevam vidittainam.
Nanu sochutum arhasi.
Nanusachati marhasi.
Please read the translation. Yeah, read the translation. Amrita.
It is said that the soul is invisible, inconceivable, immutable, and unchangeable. Knowing this, you should not give for the body.
So after addressing Arjuna's emotions at the level of his attachment to the gross body of Bhishma and Drona, and also his subtle attachments which he has for the families and everything, after addressing everything, how the soul's nature doesn't match with all your emotions which you are going through. Because soul's identification is quite different. Now, Krishna here in this particular verse, he speaks about the further characteristics of the soul in relation to its, connecting to soul. Arjuna will say, okay, theek hai, but I am connected to the soul. But where you are connected, Arjuna? You have never seen Bhishma and Drona till now. You only dealt with their gross and subtle body till now. You have not dealt with that actual personality, because those personalities are also attached in a particular way to their gross and subtle bodies. You see, when you relate with your family or anyone, friend or circles, anyone, everyone identifies with their body. And that is what the identity you know of the other person. Like when devotees, when they come birthday, like today we have one lady Mataji here, she's birthday is there, Shivani Mataji. So when devotees birthday come and normal people birthday come, the both celebrations are different. Devotee birthday means they understand. Birthday means one step closer to Krishna. But for non-devotee, birthday means one step closer to death. Because they see their identity with this body. And therefore they see that एक birthday में age बढ़ रहे हैं. एक birthday में क्या हो रहा है? I am coming closer to मृत्यु. The body is going to be destroyed. On the other hand, if you see, when a devotee birthday comes, he will see that his connection, his or her connection with Krishna is becoming closer, because he identifies him as a soul or her as a soul. That connection is getting closer and closer, because the body is going to anyway drop one day. The body is going to drop one day, so they identify with this particular soul's connection. So that's how Krishna is telling that till now you have not dealt with Bhishma and Drona in terms of soul. So you have not seen them till now, invisible. They are invisible, the soul is invisible. So ordinary mundane hai, he said mundane intelligence, the soul remains invisible. You are not dealt with any of your family members in reality. Or you can say in pure spiritual aspect. We only saw people at the terms of body and subtle body, that's all. You only dealt with them. Maybe you can stop sharing, Prabhu. I think if it is gone, next time you can keep the Veda base. That will be easy for.
Okay, bro. I'll try.
Yeah. So we see invisible. After that, next, what is the next point? Somebody can share. I mean, not the screen, but the point. Invisible and Text number 25, na? Inconceivable. You cannot conceive it because of the too much gross understanding or attachment to the body and subtle body. Hardly we conceive the soul, be able to identify his presence. Inconceivable. In ordinary dealings, you don't deal with the soul. So Arjuna till now he never dealt like that. The soul. Therefore, it's very crucial to raise your consciousness in relation to the at the soul's platform, raise consciousness to the soul's platform, spiritual platform, in order to deal with others very purely. Therefore, it's till that time it remains only inconceivable. And then he says, immutable. Knowing this, you should not grieve for the body. So, basically, in this section, what we're discussing till now, Krishna is further analyzing on the characters of the soul. I'll just brief it by sharing from 11th verse till now, 25th, what all we discussed. Like I'll just share. Are you able to see the screen here?
Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhuji.
We are able to view.
So we went till 25th verse. And there are certain characteristics which are some are like positive characteristics. I mean, telling about what is soul's spiritual characteristics, and some characteristics are related to this material world. That's how the differentiation is given in this slide. You see here, the soul is eternal. It is explained in the verse number 16. Or you can say 12, 8, 20, 21, 30. In all these verses it is explained. Soul is eternal. It doesn't change. It's indestructible and imperishable. Immeasurable. Immeasurable, you cannot measure it by any material scaling. You take any scale or any particular measurable item, you cannot measure it. Neither a slayer. Matlab what? It has not destroyed someone, because nobody can be killed, and neither it can be killed, nor even slain them. No birth and no death. Not come into being. That means that not come into particular time existed. It's not that a particular time पे soul आ गया दुनिया में. Or you can say soul has प्रकट हो गया. कहाँ से प्रकट हुआ? Soul is always eternally there. Krishna is eternal, so soul is also eternal. And does not come into being. मतलब what God? ऐसे नहीं कि future में और एक soul प्रकट हो जाएंगे. Souls already there. They only come and go in different places as per their karma. Even in spiritual, there are living entities, the souls, who are now Vimukha. They are becoming Vimukha of Krishna. And what they are doing, they are coming into this material world. They are only coming into material world. They are not, their existence is not coming newly. They are already there. And many souls are getting purified and going back to Godhead also. So that flow is going on. From spiritual to material world to spiritual world. But the souls remain number. They remain eternally what they are. Unborn. Okay, that you understand from mental perspective, unborn. Ever existing, permeable and immutable. This particular word I need to see what is immutable. And there is another character here explained, another 15 characteristics, which we will be elaborately discussing further also. It cannot be cut into pieces. For material aspects, it cannot be cut into pieces by any weapons, not burned by fire, or moistened by water, whether by pen, unbreakable, insoluble, neither burnt or dried, everlasting, present everywhere, unchangeable, immovable, eternally the same, invisible, inconceivable. Like that. So we discussed all this till 25th verse. Okay. मतलब
Probably
20
immutable means the meaning of immutable is that it cannot be mutated. Matlab, it cannot change into something else. So that is the meaning of
mutable
immutable.
मतलब unchangeable, like
Unchangeable, yes.
nothing else would be there. English is a very, what do you call,
Actually, immutable means like while we go through changes in life, like if we take a human body from child to he goes into adolescence and then into the ages of 25. Then he goes into around 50 years. So those kind of changes are not there. So like you have mentioned in the earlier classes also, the size of the soul that does not actually change with respect to the size of the body. Uh, so it is something like that. So it cannot be mutated into something else over a period of time or place or on those parameters. It does not change its two characteristics.
okay. Okay. So that means basically the certain characteristics of the souls which are there, that cannot be changed. In that way, it is immutable. Huh? Like size
Yes,
of the
sir.
soul,
Yes,
yeah. And the
yes,
nature of the roop of the soul, the form of the
yes,
soul, it never changes. It's only
yes.
contract.
Like soul is a part and parcel of Lord. That whether we accept it or not, whether we are into atheism or into any other religion, whatever it is, that will not change. It is
Then,
only that we are blind to that fact, or we don't want to listen to that fact. But
so
that
the being a servant of
nature,
Krishna, that will not change. That will,
yes, yes.
yeah.
Our nature is like in quality we are like him, but in quantity we are not even under a minuscule part of it.
Correct, correct. So in the, you see, these are the characteristics we have discussed till now. You can keep a note of it. Very emerging because Krishna not only just giving it details of it, but also trying to inspire Arjuna at the level of doing his duty of fighting against the Bhishma and Drona. Certain characteristics are related to the bodily attachments, the bodily gross and subtle. There, what is the name? What is the soul's characteristics? And some characteristics are related to its eternal, the spiritual aspects. In this way, these 30 characteristics are explained. Now, further, we will discuss from 26 to 30 verse when next time Regarani Mataji will share. Okay, next Friday. Okay.
Prabhuji,
So
one question you can take it up today or in the next class is that you mentioned that we are different from this body. So after so many years associated with ISKCON, this थोड़ा समझ में आ गया है. But how do we dissociate ourselves? You mentioned to that the beginning of the class that even our mind that is a part of the gross body. So even our mind is not actually the soul, because what we relate to is that my mind is doing, or I am controlling. I'm supposed to control my mind. Otherwise, mind will take control over me. So how do we dissociate ourselves from the mind aspect also?
see, we are not this body, but we need to deal with this body. Therefore, what we do, we follow a regulation in life. So spirituality gives a wholesome process. It doesn't only address one thing. अरे मेरे को मतलब नहीं है शरीर का क्या साथ क्या हो रहा है, मन के साथ क्या हो रहा है, आप सिर्फ आत्मा के हिसाब से सेवा करो भगवान का, ये नहीं कहते शास्त्र. Spiritual life addresses everything. So we are not his body, but we have to deal with his body. Therefore, there is a regulations in terms of four regulative principles, in terms of sleeping and waking up, where Krishna speaks in the Bhagavad Gita on it comes regulation. In terms of recreation, when to eat, what to eat, what time to sleep, what type of recreation you can have, like that. So these two things happen. Okay, that same way, we are not this mind, we are not this subtle body, but we need to deal with this subtle body. Therefore, Krishna also speaks in terms of controlling the mind, the ways of doing tapasya, sacrifices, certain sacrifices you do, where you develop emotional stability. You do certain tapasya by which you can control your mind. Like that, there are regulations in trying to addressing the mind. Okay. According to Varna and Ashram, you remain so that your subtle body is taken care. So while addressing both gross and subtle needs, we cannot compromise the spiritual needs. So devotees, they have to keep the basis of spiritual life of pure bhakti principles like Shravanam Kirtanam as a foundation. On that foundation, you are trying to work out your physical needs and you are trying to work out your mental needs in life. But if they work out wonderfully nice, if they don't work out, what can you do? You do your best in your basic foundational spiritual life. That's how it should be life. If basic foundation ही नहीं है, you're only working on body, gross and subtle, doesn't make any sense. It will not, even if you are successful in bodily needs, addressing them, or mental needs and controlling mind, everything, you are a failure because the basic foundational soul needs are not addressed. The person remains unsuccessful in life. Therefore, we have to address these two needs, keeping the basic foundational spiritual life intact. Keep spiritual life very clear. And bodily and mental needs always change. As time and place, circumstances, you have to address them accordingly. And don't expect they will be unchangeable like soul. Unpredictable, inconceivable. So they always be like that. The bodily and okay. In relation with the families, also the same principle you should apply. Keep your spiritual life as a basic foundational relationship with the family. And with that, you address the physical needs of the family, the mental needs of the family. Only now, don't address these two only. Okay. I think this answers your question. I don't know, Prabhu.
Slightly, Babu, because my question is that when we are talking about family, my family, when we are talking about my body, and my clothes, my this. So everything there is a my and then there is the noun. So we know that how to, but usually when we in our day-to-day lives, we are
We don't see
saying
the
that
difference.
my mind. We actually don't say my mind. So mind or में एक ही हो जाते हैं. So how to मतलब how to dissociate that aspect? That is why I wanted to understand how मतलब is there any dissociation? Because how you have told us the different techniques and over time and doing sadhana, we will slowly dissociate ourselves from the mind. But
It
in a
requires a
logical sense, how will
practice,
we do?
Prabhu. Like, for example, you have to start dealing with your mind. And you're able to positively deal it in the terms of you have a positive steps which you have taken handling the mind. Then you can see it as a different entity and you can control it. But problem what happens is when you start dealing with the mind, you are being dealt by the mind. That's how it turns out.
Right. Right.
Therefore, people find it difficult to see the difference between themselves and the mind. They're preoccupied with the mind things so much. They're obsessed with the mind, thoughts and everything. They can't work it. So therefore, the sadhana plays a very important role. Just like regulated physical life, we should have a regulated mental life also. For that, devotees should do regular reading, hearing. They should do certain yogas, certain tapasyas in their life. These all will help in regulating the mind.
So, Prabhuji, for example, suppose when I'm angry, so if I tell my mind, see, over a period of time, you have seen that whenever I'm angry, if I talk, I will talk all rubbish and I will spoil my relationships with that person or XYZ. So if I instruct my mind, so don't talk for the next 30 minutes and let this storm get over, and
It
eventually
happens
we have seen
moreover.
we will calm down. So is that an example how to dissociate ourselves from the mind?
Maybe
Because I am
I will
talking to my
discuss
mind
it.
and
No,
telling him.
maybe I will discuss it in the next session. more elaborate. You can ask, frame your questions properly. I feel it should require your framing of question should be proper. Now my laptop
Okay, so I think Prabhuji, my laptop has died because of my questions. I'll try to be brief from the next time.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी।
हाँ, कोई नहीं है, मैं आप निकल जाइए इनका प्रभु जी जॉन से।
प्रभु जी का बैटरी में, हाँ प्रभु जी का बैटरी डिस्चार्ज हो गया तो इसलिए तो बोले
हाँ,
फर्दर नेक्स्ट वीक में रिपीट करेंगे। और
हाँ,
कल मॉर्निंग में रहेगा भागवतम क्लास।
हाँ, ठीक है। और शाम को वो है ना रोल?
शाम को कल, अच्छा हाँ, कल एक मीट है।
हाँ, तो उसको थोड़ा आप हाँ, आप थोड़ा नंबर वंबर निकाल के रखिए, उसे लगना पड़ेगा लग रहा है।
हाँ
ठीक है।
हाँ प्रभु जी।
हाँ, तो उस प्रभु जी को तो नहीं बुलाएंगे, तो अभी तो दूसरा या तो whatever contact बलराम गोविंद प्रभु has given us, और if we are able to stay at that, but last time जब अग्रसेन में रुके थे ना, तो अग्रसेन का ही खाना तो ठीक ठाक था।
हाँ
कदम का
ठीक ठाक, प्राइस भी ठीक ही ठाक था।
हाँ, प्राइस भी ठीक ठाक ही था, प्रॉब्लम नहीं। हेड काउंट के लिए मेरे को ज्यादा झमेला है, बस माता जी लोग जाएंगे, फैमिली लोग जाएंगे ना, उसी के लिए थोड़ा ये हो रहा है। चेतन प्रभु अभी बोल रहे थे पहले बजट डिसाइड करेंगे, गुस्सा नहीं होता है, बिकॉज इन केस वी आर 4 पीपल देन तो हम लोग डॉर्मेटरी भी ले सकते हैं, ये भी कर सकते हैं। लेकिन बाकी का तो कुछ होगा नहीं, तो एक बार कल थोड़ा डिटेल डिस्कशन में बैठना पड़ेगा। एंड देन अगेन मेरे को लगता है कल किसी के घर पे करेंगे तो बेटर होगा क्या?
कल
हाँ ठीक है, कल एक बार वर्चुअली
क्या चीज नहीं समझेंगे ये?
मैं पूछ रहा था कि कल किसी के घर पे मीट करेंगे, ये एक्चुअली फेस टू फेस बात होता है ना, तो बेटर होता है। ऑनलाइन में उतना ज्यादा अच्छा होता नहीं है।
हाँ
ठीक है, कोई बात नहीं, एक बार फर्स्ट टाइम एक बार कर लेते हैं, उसके बाद नेक्स्ट टाइम डिसाइड कर लेंगे कि क्या करना है। অমৃতেন্দু
हाँ
প্রভু কি আছেন এখন লাইনে?
हाँ प्रभु
তো অমৃতেন্দু প্রভু আছেন তো?
हाँ वही टाइम है
আপনার বাবা কেমন আছেন?
হ্যাঁ, হরে কৃষ্ণ প্রভু।
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ, বাবা কেমন আছেন আপনার?
বাবা ভালো আছেন এখন, রেস্টে আছেন।
আচ্ছা, সেদিনকে তো আপনার সাথে কথা হলো, তখন তো আপনি বলছিলেন যে পেসমেকারের একটা অপারেশন করার ছিল, তারপরে তো শুনলাম ওনার মানে হার্টে কি কার্ডিয়াক অ্যারেস্ট হয়ে গেছে নাকি?
হ্যাঁ, ওই চেঞ্জ হয়ে গেছে, ওই যেটা ব্যাটারি চেঞ্জ করা ছিল ওটা হয়ে গেছে।
হ্যাঁ, তো তাহলে মানে হার্ট অ্যাটাক কখন হলো সেটাই তো বুঝতে পারছি না।
হার্ট অ্যাটাক হয়নি তো?
যা, আমাকে তো বললো হার্ট অ্যাটাক হয়েছে, আমি তো সেই ভাবলাম আগের দিন ক্লাসে
কে
সেটাই
বললো?
বললো। কি
হ্যাঁ,
অবস্থা!
না না, অ্যাকচুয়ালি ওইটা চেঞ্জ করতে হয় তো, চেঞ্জ
হ্যাঁ,
হয়েছে, ওটা চেঞ্জ।
আপনার সাথে তো কথা হলো যে
এটা
লোকের 10 বছর যায়, আপনার 15 বছর গেছে। আহ ব্যাটারিটা বলছেন তো?
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ, এটা থার্ড টাইম হলো।
হ্যাঁ, আমি ভাবলাম যে খোলার সময় বা অপারেট করার সময় হয়তো আবার হার্ট অ্যাটাক হতেই পারে, আমার তো অত আইডিয়া নেই। তো দেখুন গ্রুপের
না
মধ্যে
না
সবাই
না
লিখছে যে আপনার বাবার হার্ট অ্যাটাক হচ্ছে, আগে
না না,
সপ্তাহে দেবে।
ও আচ্ছা আচ্ছা, গ্রুপে বলতে কোন গ্রুপে?
আমাদের ওই কোন একটা গ্রুপ
হরে
আছে
কৃষ্ণ
কি যেন।
গ্রুপটা না? ওই আচ্ছা আচ্ছা, তাহলে
না,
ওই
হরে
নীতিশ
কৃষ্ণ
বাবু।
গ্রুপটা না, অন্য গ্রুপটা, হরে কৃষ্ণ গ্রুপে লেখা হয়নি, অন্য গ্রুপটায়
তাহলে
লেখা
আমি
হয়েছে।
তো কই জানি না কোথায় কে লিখেছিল ওটা।
তো কেউ একজন লিখেছিল, আমি তো
আচ্ছা,
ভাবলাম এখন লিখলাম যে লাস্ট টাইম আই হ্যাড এ টক উইথ অমৃত বাবু, হি সেড
হ্যাঁ
দ্যাট দেয়ার ইজ সাম পেসমেকার ব্যাটারি চেঞ্জ
হ্যাঁ,
হয়ে যাওয়া।
মন্দিরে, হ্যাঁ মন্দিরে তো দেখা হলো
মন্দিরে আপনার
আপনার
সাথে
সাথে।
কথা হলো সকালবেলা,
হ্যাঁ
আমি যে কি হতে পারে, হয়তো এই সময়টা, হয়তো যখন ব্যাটারি চেঞ্জ করছে তখনই কার্ডিয়াক অ্যারেস্ট হয়েছে, হতেই পারে। তো ঠিক আছে, এনিওয়েজ ভগবানের কৃপায় এখন তো বাড়িতে আছেন তো?
হ্যাঁ হ্যাঁ,
আচ্ছা আচ্ছা,
আচ্ছা আচ্ছা, বেশ।
ঠিক আছে প্রভু। ओके ओके, हरे
হ্যাঁ
कृष्ण।
হ্যাঁ, হরে কৃষ্ণ, হরে।
ठीक है प्रभु जी, ये आकाश प्रभु कल मिलते हैं कॉल पे, ठीक है?
हाँ प्रभु ठीक है हाँ हाँ
ठीक है, ठीक, हरे